Welcome to Photography in the World, conversations about photography and other random thoughts. I'm your host, Larry Smith. Episode 1, How Not to Be a Podcaster. Never done this before. My story is, how did I get here? How did I get to be to the point where I decided, hey, I think I'll do a podcast? It might be an interesting story to you. It might not be. But the story is, growing up as a kid in Chicago, I would go on vacation with my parents, and I had a 110 film camera. Remember these little 110 cameras? They were like a little bit bigger than a big pack of gum, and they had like this flash tower on them, and they had these little like skinny rolls of film in them. And I would take literally hundreds and hundreds of pictures with this thing. The pictures were absolutely horrible, although now they'd be called vintage. I'm doing air quotes. But I have hundreds of these pictures, and they're all over, spread in the garages and packed up in boxes and stuff that I probably never ever look at before anymore. And so I've always had kind of this like love to take pictures, whether it was, my dad and I would travel on a train on Amtrak all over the United States. And we go out to my brother who lived out in Arizona, and he lived in New Mexico for a while. And we would go to the Grand Canyon, and I would stand there and snap pictures with this stupid thing. And the first time I went down there, I'm like, I'm going out west. Hey, look at me. I'm going out west to cowboy land. And I felt the surge. I needed to buy a cowboy hat. So I bought a cowboy hat. I bought a big black felt cowboy hat. Felt. Big, heavy, black cowboy hat. I had to have it. Not a straw cowboy hat like they have today. This was a big, black, fat, felt cowboy hat. It's in Arizona. It's 110 effing degrees outside, and here's me, the proud little boy, wandering around with my 110 camera in my plaid shirt with my big, black, felt cowboy hat with a little red feather on the side and hatband. I thought that was the coolest thing until about 3 days in, when I realized that big black felt cowboy hat was hotter than the noonday sun in Arizona. That hat sucked up half the heat from the state of Arizona. Absolutely amazing. But, I continued to wear it throughout the trip, and then when I got home, it went on a shelf, and I never wore that big black felt cowboy hat again, and off I went. So I continued to take pictures. When I got to college, I went to Wright Junior College in Chicago, and they had a photography class, and it was about developing black and whites and how to use a camera and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So my dad went to Goldblatt's department store and bought me a 35 millimeter film Chinon, that's Chinon camera. And I had couple of lenses for it, like a really cheap, like 800 millimeter lens that was like had an aperture of like f12, so you couldn't see, if it wasn't the brightest part of the day, if there was a single cloud in the sky, you couldn't see anything. Everything was terribly underexposed. But it started me off, and I actually loved it. I was shooting a lot of black and white architecture in Chicago, Daly Plaza, the court building, federal court building, just all kinds of stuff. And I would develop my own prints, and I would put them on matte, and that was pretty cool. I remember there was a big camera store. I think it was called I don't remember what it was. It wasn't Wolk Camera. Wolk was a camera store. Back when you actually had camera stores, that was a cool thing. I suppose there's some of those around the country, but they're few and far between now. The old fashioned camera stores, it's like going to an old hardware store where you would walk in there and there would just be like any kind of hardware you wanted, and it would be like, if we don't have it, you probably don't need it. So that's the way the camera stores were. And so I remember going to this big camera store and buying my first enlarger to make prints with, and I had all the trays for all the baths, and we lived in a Chicago bungalow, and an unfinished basement, but in a corner of that basement, the front corner of that basement, was a I guess, back in the day, you would call it a kind of a root cellar type thing. It was like a little corner that was dark, and it was where my mom was big into canning fruits and vegetables, and that's where all the canned goods got stored. Apple butter, bread and butter, pickles, all of that kind of thing, because my mom used to do that. We used to go down to the market down on in Chicago and buy literally like bushel baskets of like silly pickles and not silly pickles, that's not a brand, but pickles and cucumbers and apples and all kinds of fruits and vegetables, and bring them home. And my mom would turn the kitchen into a canning factory and can all this stuff and give it away to neighbors, because most of it we never really ate. I never really liked most of it. But anyway, my mom had passed away by then, and I took that cellar and I turned it into my own little dark room down there. So that became my space. I had, my black light and all that stuff, right? So I did that for a couple of years. And then life changes, right? You go to college, you get girlfriends, your last thing you're thinking about is cameras. And I got married and had a kid and moved on with life, got divorced, needed a hobby. So I went back to cameras and I bought some Nikon gear. And I started doing street photography just as a hobby. Started a little website that's been through kind of numerous iterations over the years to where it's at today. And that's how I got started. And I was at Easter Sunday. And I was walking around Oak Park, Illinois. And Easter Sunday in Oak Park is pretty much nothing but people going to church and coming and going from church. So no big deal. So I looked down one of the streets. I saw a bunch of fire trucks. So I decided I'm going to take a walk down here and see what's going on, right? So I arrived on a scene at a fire that had been extinguished for approximately 2 hours. And I started snapping a bunch of pictures because it was pretty cool. Being respectful not to take pictures of anybody who was injured, but I didn't see anybody because, again, this is like 2 hours. The fire department's still on scene. They're still trying to put out hot spots, I guess. And people started coming up to me and asking me if I was with the press, because they had my big camera bag on, and I looked kind of like I maybe like with the press. And I said, no, I'm just a local photographer, in the area. I just happened to be in here and taking pictures. So they started telling me the whole story about what happened. And this is before local news had actually shown up on the scene, the local Oak Park paper or anything like that. And the landlord, he found me out, and I gave him my card because I had cards printed out because I was trying to promote myself. I wanted people to go out and look at my website and see what I was doing. So about 2 days later, I got a call from local newspaper, and they wanted to purchase some of my pictures to put in local paper in both digital and print. And I was like over the moon. It's not like you made any money. I think they paid me like $50 for like 6 pictures or some shit like that. But it was all good. It was the stardom. Like I kind of felt like I was kind of onto something, right? So after that, I bought a police scanner, and I was living in Berwyn, Illinois at the time. And so every time the scanner would go off, I would get in my car, run out with my camera, and stand there and take pictures of the firemen and the fire and all the stuff that was going on with that. And I got to be pretty decent at that, and I had some pictures published and stuff like that. So I was kind of in a role. This was kind of a niche thing that I was doing. And but in the end, I wasn't. There's no money in it. You're kind of freelancing, and that's a maybe. That's a big if, because I'm a nobody. I'm just a guy with a camera. And but I like to do it. The firemen got to kind of know me when I showed up, and as long as I stayed out of their way, they were cool. They didn't bother me. The local police didn't bother me. And in some cases, I provided pictures to the fire investigators. Because I was on scene so early that I actually got pictures of the fire before the firemen showed up in a couple of cases. So I provided pictures for that to help with their investigation. So that was kind of a cool thing. Then in my day job, one of the gals that I work with says, "Hey, do you want to do some race photography?" I'm like, "Race photography? What the heck's race photography?" And it's shooting 5K races, marathons, and the like, and getting paid for it. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. I can make $300-400 a race. So I started doing that, and I shot a whole bunch of races and worked for, as a contract shooter for a whole bunch of different companies. And that was pretty cool. I was getting paid for that. So then as life would change again, and I reunited with my high school girlfriend. And I ended up moving to Florida in 2020. And I was shooting races down here because down here in Florida, obviously the weather's nicer and you can shoot races like all the time. So it all worked out really good. So that's what I would do. My girlfriend then joined a band, the Awesome Original Second Time Arounders, which is the largest adult marching band in North America, if probably not the world. They're a pretty big band. They marched almost 500 people in a Macy's parade one year, and about 400 plus in the Macy's parade in 2018, I believe it was, that we went. And I got to be the photographer for the band. So it was the coolest thing because I'd never been to a Macy's parade before. I've only just watched it on TV. And now here I am, not only at the parade, but I'm in the parade, walking alongside the band, and to see all the behind the scenes things that were going on. And my only claim to fame for that is that I almost got run over by Jimmy Fallon in a golf cart because he was busy driving around doing Jimmy Fallon things, and I was kind of in the way. So I almost got run over by him. It was all good. It was funny. So it was a really, really good time. And so with that, I kind of built my website up, which is Skyway Photography, skywayphotography.com, if you're interested in going out and seeing some of the pictures that I've shot over the years. And I continued to grow that website, and then decided that I was going to do some YouTube stuff. Yeah, I'm not really a good YouTuber. I'm probably not going to be a good podcaster, but I've got some good stories to tell. So I figured I was going to give it a shot. But I have 11 subscribers on YouTube. Most of them are probably very close friends or people who want to see me fail. So I have that. I have a couple subscribers. I have a couple videos out there. Nothing earth shattering, but I'm working on. I'm learning, right? So with that, I kept going. I started putting out a couple more videos again. I don't have a lot out there. I'm kind of new to this whole thing, and it kind of led me to want to kind of branch out to other things. So I also had a love since I started with black and white photography. So I started a new website called My Monochrome Life, and it features all of my black and white photography that I've kind of done over the years. And so in the vein of starting new things, I decided that I'm going to start a podcast, and I'm going to do an audio podcast. And what do I want to talk about in this podcast? What is this podcast about? Well, it's about photography, and it's about travel, and it's about things that happen in the world in general. So I guess it's maybe broad. Maybe it's too broad. I don't know. But there's a lot of interesting things that happen in the world, and a lot of interesting places in the world. And I have a lot of experience in travel and in the world that I just feel that I can share and maybe interest some people, and maybe hope to inspire people. Do I aim to be a big influencer? Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen, but I just want to share my stories and my views on things, and see where it goes. See where it goes. Maybe I'll interest you, some of you. Maybe I'll inspire some of you. Maybe some of you will go, geez, this guy's a waste of time. That could be. There's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of people to pick from. So I'll do my best to keep things interesting, and maybe draw some people in, and at some point we'll get their experiences too, because I think that's what it's all about. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world. No matter which side of the political spectrum you're on, and I'm not going to turn this into a political podcast because I don't even want to go there. It's too sensitive a subject for both sides. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of good stuff out there in the world, and a lot of stuff to explore and see and share, and experiences that we all have. So that's what I want to share. So I hope you enjoy this, and this is my little start into the foray of podcasting. So again, Larry Smith, episode 1. Join me again. Thank you.